under the sink.
I love the story, really. And I think it's just going to grow a lot bigger, super fast, probably. But your personal story, I really love too. And I want to point this out for the listeners. If you look at your profile, right, if you look Jon up on LinkedIn, you're going to see good education. He got his master's degree, went to work for GE for a long time. Then he, helped sell a company and did all these things as an executive right after Big Ass Fans, right then, when you were the president and you took it to a sell. You could have just went to work for a PE firm. You could have went to work for a VC firm. You could have taken on another executive job for another brand. You could have just stayed, right? And just kept doing that, right?
Exactly right.
Somebody pay you $300,000 a year or more to just, okay, come run this other brand. You could have done that. Nice cushy job.
Yeah.
But instead, right there, you said, you know what? I've had this entrepreneurial thing in me for a long time. Right now is my opportunity. I'm going to take this risk. And I can't imagine what it was like for you to tell your wife, like, hey, listen, I don't know how much money I'm going to make next year because we're going to start this other business. And she's probably thinking, well, hold on. You could just go be an executive and make a lot of money somewhere.
Right.
I love that about you. I love that. I love that you took that risk, and it takes guts to do that, my friend. So many people I talk to, they want to, right? They wanted to do it, but they're just scared. What would you tell, that 45-year-old executive, let's even say 30 to 50, right? They've been an executive now. They ran a company like Big Ass Fans, and they want to do something, but they're scared. What kind of encouragement would you give them?
It is one of the most fascinating questions I think you can ask. And it's really, there's so many facets to it.
Yep.
The crazy thing is that we all have Facebook and we all have social media, and oftentimes we see these snippets, and these snippets are of a kid that we remember as being 6 months old. And then the next thing you realize they're 5 years old. And then the next thing you see, they're 20 years old.
Yep.
And we oftentimes use kids as a way of saying, wow, life is moving. And it happens to me all the time. I'll bump into a friend from GE many years ago, and I'll see pictures of his kids. And in my mind, they're these little beings, and now they're going to college.
Right.
And I think what we oftentimes forget in the corporate world is that same speed is happening in front of us.
That is a great point. I love that.
And we look at, we think we kind of look the same and we act the same. And, but the reality is that so many people in corporate America are stuck in time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're stuck in this cycle where they think, well, it's that next job that is going to be the defining job. And I'll tell you, I've met more executives, and I'm talking CEOs, CMOs, top executives of companies, that when they finally get there, they think something has changed that wasn't as good as the way the role was set up before. Right. So they think, for example, the CEO before me, they had autonomy and they didn't have to deal with the board, and they didn't have to, and there are all these and then now that I'm CEO, look at how the market has changed. Look at the board is now coming in once a quarter, and I have all these things that I've got to deal with. And so my role as CEO is clearly not as good as, right. And the problem is that we all get stuck in this moment where we're searching for something.
Yes. Trying to get to next, trying to get to that next thing. And if I can just get to next, it's going to be okay.
That's right. What I tell a lot of young people who are struggling with the very question that you've asked me, and they say, my God, I work at this big company and it's great for my career. And what I tell them is, look, here's the sad reality. The sad reality is you're probably going to average a 10% income increase over the next decade.
Maybe maybe. Right. Probably less than that.
And so, do the math and figure out if it's worth it from a financial perspective. Do the math and figure out if it's worth it from a life perspective. But, the reality is when you adjust the risk equation, it's actually not as scary as you would think. Because if you truly don't want to be in the role, it's not worth being in these jobs where you're stuck in these companies and you're seeing these kids grow up, but in your mind, time isn't moving. Time is moving. Time is moving. And if you don't take advantage of it and you don't find a way to be happy every day. And by the way, what I will tell you too is that, like, it's all connected. When you're happy in what you do, you end up working out more. You end up being a better spouse. You end up being a better parent. And so the trap that you're in, if it is a trap, there is no endpoint. Mm-hmm. There is no when I get that CEO job, because when you get there, you're going to say it's not as good as what I thought it was going to be. Right. So you have to go out and find it for yourself. And the other thing that I think not enough of us do is there's this inner voice that tells us, do this, right? You know, there's this inner voice that says, I want to be an actor, or I want to be an entrepreneur. Right. We push that voice away and we justify so many reasons why we can't do it. But look, we're only here that I'm aware of for this one shot. Right?
That's right. That's right. And by the way, there's no rewind button. You can't go back. You can't press rewind. I'm using rewind. That's an old term for cassette players and VHS. But the point is, you cannot press rewind. This is not a movie. You can't start it over.
That's exactly right. And I think you need to take time to figure out exactly what you want to do. I mean, there are people who do the craziest things in life and it makes them the happiest. And there are things who do the most boring things in life and it makes them miserable, but they feel like they have to do it because of making money. There are so many ways to make a family okay. And, you know, it's up to us to define what success looks like. And I'm sure, you know, with what you do, you see this all the time.
All the time.
You know, the person who makes $500,000 a year is just as stressed as the person who makes $50,000 a year.
Yes.
We're dealing with the exact same issues. And so, you know, ultimately we just need to find what we're passionate about, what we want to do, what really inspires us to wake up in the morning and be proud of what we do. But you have to get out of that rut. You have to get out of this idea that something magic will happen that will change the trajectory.
I love it. I mean, such good advice. That is such.
People are clicking on Facebook during the day because they're bored and they're seeing these kids age in front of them. Yet they don't see that their entire career is just stuck in front of them.
It's such good advice, Jon. You're such good advice. I love how you tied it into the speed of life as a child versus the speed of life as an adult. You're right. It's all going the same speed. I remember telling my high school boys who both played sports, they were like you know, they were jocks. And I remember telling them back then, like, hey, you can't come back here. Like, this is your senior year in wrestling. This is your senior year in football. Like, this is it. Like, there's no,
that's right.
You're not coming back to this period. And what was so funny is I used to just really pound on them about how important it was and how fast that was going to go by. But you're right. It applies to our adult life too. It's still going the same speed and people are just letting it go by.
The Riderflex podcast can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com/podcast to learn more about us and become a supporter of the show. Send your comments and suggestions for future topics to the email address podcast@riderflex.com or leave us a voicemail at 888-964-5876 extension 710. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.